Something feels different about Heartland this time. The season 19 episode 5 trailer just dropped, and instead of comfort, it left fans uneasy. At first glance, it looks emotional, intense, and full of promise. But the more you watch, the more you realize this episode might be hiding more disappointment than drama. The trailer teases danger, conflict, and big emotional shifts, yet there's a strange feeling that Heartland is once again trying to convince us something huge is coming, when it might not fully deliver. And that's exactly why fans didn't expect this first look to feel the way it does. Section 1. The trailer for Heartland Season 19, Episode 5, wastes no time pulling us back into the aftermath of last episode's chaos. Right away, it reminds us that the plane emergency is far from over, and the tension is supposed to feel high. The music swells, the pacing quickens, and everything points toward a life-or-death situation. On paper, this should be one of the most gripping moments of the season. A stranded plane, no clear rescue in sight, and characters forced into survival mode. But even in the trailer, something feels oddly familiar and a little too safe. Heartland wants us to believe this episode will push the characters to their limits, yet the preview gives off the sense that the danger may be more emotional than real. Caleb and Nathan's situation is framed as serious, but instead of raw fear, we see controlled tension, almost as if the outcome is already decided. For longtime fans, this creates mixed feelings. On one hand, there's relief. Heartland rarely goes too dark. On the other, there's frustration, because this storyline had the potential to bring back the edge the show once had in its earlier seasons. Back at Heartland, the trailer hints that Amy is once again being pulled in too many directions. Her face says it all: worry, pressure, and that familiar weight of responsibility she always carries. When news of the missing plane reaches home, the urgency spikes, but the trailer suggests delays, complications, and decisions that may not sit right with everyone. There's a strong sense that help won't come quickly, and that choice alone sets up tension that feels more human than heroic. Amy doesn't look calm or confident here. She looks torn. And that's where the trailer does something right. It leans into emotional suspense rather than spectacle. Still, the problem is how predictable it all feels. Fans have seen Amy rush into danger before. We've seen rescues delayed, emotions heightened, and last-minute solutions magically appear. The trailer promises intensity, but it also quietly reminds us of how often Heartland resolves these crises without lasting consequences. One of the most heavily teased elements is the conflict between Caleb and Nathan. The trailer clearly wants this to be the emotional core of the episode. Short, sharp moments of tension suggest unresolved jealousy, buried resentment, and old wounds that refuse to heal. Nathan's expressions hint at insecurity, while Caleb appears defensive, almost exhausted by the situation. This clash should feel explosive, especially given their shared history with Amy. But even here, the trailer plays it safe. The arguments feel restrained, controlled, almost too polite for what's at stake. Fans were expecting fireworks, but instead, the first look suggests emotional sparks that never fully turn into flames. It raises the question: is Heartland afraid to let its characters truly fall apart? The trailer also briefly teases Amy and Ashley stepping into action, and while it's meant to feel empowering, it comes off as rushed. There's an impression that obstacles will appear only to be solved moments later, as if the show is checking boxes instead of letting moments breathe. The emotional weight is there, but it doesn't linger. It flashes by, asking viewers to feel tension without giving them time to sit in it. That's what makes this first look so surprising. Not because it's shocking, but because it feels like Heartland is once again standing on the edge of something great, yet unwilling to fully jump. And as the trailer fades out, one thought lingers stronger than any dramatic beat. This episode wants to be unforgettable, but fans are left wondering if it will truly earn that reaction. The trailer then widens its focus, reminding us that Episode 5 isn't only about the plane or the tension between Caleb and Nathan. It's about how every storyline quietly mirrors the same theme: trust, doubt, and the fear of being let down. One of the most telling parts of this first look is how calm everything appears on the surface, while emotionally, things feel anything but stable. Heartland has always thrived on this contrast, but in the trailer, it feels sharper, almost uncomfortable. Characters smile, talk, and move forward, yet there's a constant sense that something is off. The show seems to be asking its audience to read between the lines, to notice what isn't being said rather than what is. That alone creates a slow-burning suspense, even if the trailer doesn't rely on big, shocking moments. Amy's journey continues to feel especially heavy in this episode. The trailer hints that she's stepping into another professional challenge, one that could seriously impact her reputation. The way this is teased feels more threatening than any physical danger shown earlier. A single mistake, a single accusation, and everything she's worked for could start to unravel. What makes this particularly unsettling is how alone she seems in these moments. Even when surrounded by people, the trailer frames Amy as isolated, quietly carrying the burden on her own. Fans who know her story understand how deeply her work is tied to her identity, so the idea that her credibility could be questioned adds a layer of tension that feels real and personal. The trailer doesn't spell out the full conflict, but it gives just enough to make viewers worry about how fragile her position truly is. Nathan's role in this part of the trailer becomes more protective, but also more complicated. There are subtle hints that he wants to step up for Amy, to be her support when things start falling apart. At the same time, there's an underlying desperation in his actions, as if he's trying to prove something. To her, to himself, or maybe to the memory of what came before him. The trailer suggests that his feelings are growing stronger, and that this episode could push him closer to making a serious emotional commitment. But Heartland doesn't make it feel triumphant. Instead, it feels uncertain, fragile, like one wrong move could shatter everything. That emotional uncertainty is what keeps the suspense alive. Viewers are left wondering whether Nathan's support will bring comfort, or whether it will add even more pressure to an already strained situation. In contrast, the trailer sprinkles in lighter moments from the ranch, but even these aren't entirely carefree. There's a subtle sense that humor is being used as a distraction, a way for the characters to avoid dealing with what's really bothering them. These scenes offer brief relief, but they also highlight how disconnected some of the storylines feel. While one group faces emotional or physical danger, another is dealing with everyday problems that seem small by comparison. This imbalance has always existed in Heartland, but in this trailer, it feels more noticeable. Instead of blending smoothly, the tones sit side by side, making the episode feel emotionally uneven. What truly stands out in this first look is how quickly everything seems to move. Conflicts are introduced, emotions rise, and resolutions appear to be hinted at almost immediately. The trailer gives the impression that Episode 5 will try to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. For some fans, that creates excitement. For others, it raises concern that nothing will have enough space to fully land. Heartland is at its best when it allows moments to breathe, when silence says more than dialogue. But the pacing teased here suggests a rush toward closure rather than a deep exploration of conflict. By the end of the trailer, the emotional stakes are clear, even if the outcomes are not. Trust is being tested, loyalties are shifting, and long-standing questions about love, honesty, and commitment are coming back to the surface. Yet instead of feeling resolved, everything feels suspended in the air. That unresolved tension is what makes this first look so unsettling. It doesn't promise answers. It promises discomfort. And for a show known for its warmth and reassurance, as the trailer reaches its final moments, Heartland Season 19, Episode 5 positions itself as an emotional crossroads rather than a dramatic climax. There's a strong sense that this episode is meant to quietly reshape relationships, not through shocking twists, but through choices that linger long after the credits roll. The suspense here doesn't come from what happens next, but from what might change forever. The trailer closes on expressions filled with uncertainty, looks that suggest regret, hesitation, and unspoken truths. It feels less like an ending and more like a warning that the comfort Heartland is known for may not come as easily this time. One of the most striking things about this first look is how final some moments feel, even though nothing is officially ending. The trailer hints that certain bonds may never return to the way they were, no matter how hard the characters try. Caleb's presence, in particular, carries a quiet weight. There's a sense that his role in Amy's life is reaching a turning point, whether he's ready to admit it or not. The trailer doesn't frame this as dramatic or explosive. Instead, it feels slow and inevitable, which somehow makes it more painful. Fans who followed this journey for years can sense that something is being let go of, even if the show never fully says it out loud. Amy once again stands at the center of it all. The final moments of the trailer suggest that she's being forced to confront not just external challenges, but her own emotional limits. There's a vulnerability in her expressions that feels raw and honest. She looks tired, not physically, but emotionally. Tired of holding everything together, tired of being strong for everyone else. The suspense here lies in whether she'll finally allow herself to lean on someone, or whether she'll retreat inward like she's done so many times before. The trailer leaves that question unanswered, and that uncertainty is what makes it so powerful. Nathan's arc also seems to reach a critical moment by the end of the preview. His actions suggest devotion, but also impatience, as if he's afraid that waiting too long will cost him everything. There's a subtle implication that he may be ready to make a promise, or at least voice feelings he's kept buried. But the trailer doesn't frame this as romantic fulfillment. It feels fragile, almost risky, as if saying the wrong thing at the wrong time could push Amy further away instead of bringing her closer. That emotional risk adds another layer of tension, making viewers question whether honesty will heal or hurt. As the trailer fades out, what's left isn't excitement. It's anticipation mixed with concern. Episode 5 doesn't look like a disaster, but it also doesn't look like a triumphant return to Heartland's golden days. Instead, it feels like a test of whether the show is willing to slow down, sit with discomfort, and let its characters face the consequences of their choices. Fans didn't expect this first look to feel so restrained, so quietly heavy. And that's exactly why it's unsettling. Because sometimes the most suspenseful moments aren't loud or dramatic. They're the ones that leave you wondering whether the story you love is about to change in ways you can't undo.